My niece Ava came to my house with a clipboard and a worried expression. She said the hospital needed one simple medical form signed in case I ever had another fall. "It's only for emergencies, Aunt Rebecca," she told me. "You don't want strangers making decisions for you." But when I brought the papers to my doctor, he read the first page, then turned it over and went still. A page was missing. The document Ava wanted me to sign would have given her broad authority over my medical decisions, my records, and even where I lived. The missing page was the one that explained my right to revoke it, and the requirement that I be evaluated by an independent physician first. Then my doctor opened my chart and found a note Ava had left after my last appointment. It claimed I had been showing serious memory problems. I had never said those words. I had never even seen the note. Subscribe for more stories about protecting your independence. And tell me in the comments, would you sign medical paperwork from a relative without having your own doctor explain every page? My name is Rebecca Clark. I am 68 years old, and until that morning in Dr. Patel's office, I believed the worst thing grief could do was make a house feel too quiet. I had been a widow for almost 3 years. William and I had lived in the same white house on Willow Creek Road for 34 years. We raised our son there. We hosted birthdays there. We worried about bills there, laughed over burned biscuits there, and learned to live carefully when money was tight. After William died, I promised myself I would not become one of those women people spoke about in lowered voices. Poor Rebecca. She can't manage alone. Someone ought to take over. I knew people meant well when they said such things. At least, most of them did. But I had spent 42 years working at the Willow Creek Community Library. I had balanced my own checkbook since I was 19. I had handled my husband's medications when he was sick, made difficult decisions when he could no longer make them himself, and sat beside him through every test, every hospital room, every quiet conversation with doctors who looked tired before they ever walked through the door. I understood what it meant to need help, and I understood what it meant to have help offered in a way that made you feel smaller. Ava was my sister Donna's daughter. She was 36, quick with a smile, always dressed neatly, always carrying a phone in one hand and a list of things to do in the other. When she was little, she used to spend weekends at our house while Donna worked double shifts at the nursing home. William taught her how to ride a bicycle in our driveway. I taught her how to make library cards from old index paper. For years, she called me Aunt Becca. After William passed, she began calling me Aunt Rebecca more often. I did not think much of it then. I assumed it was simply adulthood settling into her voice. She started coming by more regularly after I had a small fall in my kitchen that spring. It was not dramatic. I had stepped backward while reaching for a pan, caught the edge of the rug with my heel, and landed hard on my hip. Nothing broke, thank God. The emergency room doctor said I had a deep bruise and gave me instructions I followed faithfully. For 2 weeks, people acted as though I had narrowly survived a train wreck. My son Daniel called every evening. My neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove, brought soup. Ava came over with groceries, which I appreciated. At first, she was helpful in the ordinary way. She carried the heavier bags. She replaced the rubber grip on the bottom of my bath mat. She looked up the number for a handyman when the loose porch railing began to wobble. Then her help began to come with questions. Do you keep your medical papers in one place, Aunt Rebecca? Who knows your insurance login if something happens? Do you have a list of your prescriptions somewhere easy to find? None of those were unreasonable questions. I had asked similar things when Williamson's health began to fail, so I answered her. I told her my medical folder was in the blue file box beneath my desk. I told her my pharmacy had all my prescriptions on record. I told her Dr. Patel's office knew to call me directly, not Daniel, not Donna, not anyone else. Ava nodded, as if she approved. You should really have someone listed as your healthcare person, she said one afternoon while she helped me put dishes away, just in case you can't speak for yourself. I have one, I said. That was true. William and I had completed basic advance directive forms years earlier. After he died, I updated the emergency contact information with my doctor's office. Daniel was listed as the person to call in an emergency, but I had not given anyone authority to make choices for me while I was still able to make them myself. Ava dried a plate slowly. Daniel has a lot going on, she said. He does. And he lives 40 minutes away. Yes, I'm only 15 minutes from here. I looked at her then. Are you asking to be my emergency contact? She gave a small laugh. The kind people give when they want you to feel as though you have misunderstood something simple. No, I just mean you should think about what would be easiest for everyone. For everyone. That phrase stayed with me longer than I expected. Not what would be right for me. Not what I wanted. What would be easiest for everyone. The following Tuesday, Ava called and asked if she could stop by after work. She said she had found a medical form that would put everything in order. When she arrived, she was holding a clipboard with a thick stack of papers clipped beneath a plastic cover. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore the same concerned expression she had worn since my fall. I remember being tired that day. My hip still ached when the rain came in, and I had spent the morning waiting on hold with my prescription plan because they had changed the coverage for one of my blood pressure medicines. Tired people want things to be simple. That is something I have learned the hard way. Ava sat across from me at my dining room table. This is not a big deal, she said. It's standard hospital paperwork. I looked at the first page. The heading said Durable Healthcare Power of Attorney. Beneath it was language about appointing an agent to make medical decisions if I could not make them myself. I already have an advance directive, I said. This is more complete, Ava replied. Hospitals are strict now. They need everything spelled out. She had placed a yellow sticker beside a signature line. Just sign here, she said. And here. I can have it notarized tomorrow. Something about that made me pause. Why do you need it notarized tomorrow? Because it's better to get it done. I would rather read it first. Her smile did not disappear, but it changed. It became tighter around the corners. Of course, she said. Read it. I picked up the pages. The language was dense. I could understand most of it, but I had learned long ago that understanding individual words was not the same as understanding what a document allowed another person to do. The first section discussed healthcare decisions. The second mentioned medical records. Then I saw a paragraph that gave the agent authority to arrange residential placement and supportive living services if those services were considered necessary. I looked up. Why is this in here? Ava leaned forward. That's only if you ever need rehab after a hospital stay, like after a surgery or another fall. Could you move me somewhere with this? No, she said quickly. Not like that. The answer came too quickly. I touched the stack with one finger. Then I will take it to Dr. Patel. He can explain it. For the first time, Ava looked openly irritated. Aunt Rebecca, doctors don't usually explain legal forms. He can tell me whether it makes sense medically. You don't need to make this complicated. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I hated that feeling. It made me feel like a schoolgirl being scolded for asking a question. I am not making anything complicated, I said. I am reading before I sign. Ava sat back. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed and let her eyes drift toward the family photographs on the sideboard. There was one of William holding a fishing pole at Lake Erie, grinning as though he had caught something much larger than the little bluegill hanging from the line. Next to it was a photograph of Ava, at 8 years old, missing her front teeth, holding up a library book about horses. You know I'm only trying to protect you, she said quietly. I softened then. I wish I could say I did not, but I did. I know, I said, and I appreciate that, but I will still ask my doctor. She gathered the papers more sharply than she needed to. I'll leave them with you, she said. Just don't wait too long. If something happened, we'd all regret it. After she left, I stood at the front window and watched her walk to her car. She did not wave. That night, I took the papers out again after supper. I sat at the dining table with my reading glasses and a yellow legal pad, writing down questions beside sections I did not like. Why authority over where I live? Why no limit on access to my records? Why is Ava the person named as agent? Why does she need this now? The packet was not as thick as I remembered from earlier. I counted the pages twice. There was a page 1, a page 2, then a page 4, no page 3. I thought perhaps the copier had made a mistake. Still, I placed the papers in my blue folder and called Dr. Patel's office the next morning. His nurse, Tasha, answered on the second ring. Rebecca, how are you feeling today? Stubborn enough to make an appointment, I told her. She laughed. That sounds like you. I explained that I had forms I wanted the doctor to look over. Tasha hesitated for a moment, then offered me an appointment for Friday afternoon. When I arrived, Dr. Patel was running behind. That was normal. He never rushed people, and I had always respected that about him. He had treated William during the last 4 years of his life, and he had always looked directly at me when he spoke, even when the news was difficult. At last, he came into the exam room carrying my chart. "Rebecca," he said warmly, "how is that hip? Still attached to me, which is the important thing." He smiled, then sat down. "Tasha said you brought paperwork." I handed him Ava's packet. "This is supposed to be for emergencies," I said. "My niece wants me to sign it." He read the first page carefully, then the second. He turned it over. His expression changed. It was not panic, it was something quieter and more troubling. The look of a man who had just found a loose floorboard in a house he thought was solid. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "My niece brought it to my house. Did she explain every page to you?" "No. She said it was standard." He looked through the packet again, slower this time. "Did she give you another page?" "There is no page 3. He placed the papers on the counter beside him. "Rebecca, this version is incomplete." I felt my stomach tighten. "What is missing?" He folded his hands. "The missing page contains the limitations and safeguards. It explains that you may revoke the document while you retain decision-making capacity. It also states that before your agent could make certain major decisions, an independent physician would need to evaluate whether you were unable to make them yourself." I stared at him. "Major decisions like what?" "Admission to a long-term care facility. Restrictions on access to your health records. Certain decisions about your living situation and treatment." For a moment, I could hear only the soft hum of the air conditioner. Then I said, "Ava told me it was just so doctors could speak to her in an emergency." Dr. Patel's eyes softened, but his voice stayed firm. "It may have been presented that way, but that is not all it would do." He opened my chart on his computer. "I want to check something," he said. He clicked through several screens, frowning. Then he stopped. "Did Ava come with you after your last appointment?" "Yes. She drove me because my hip was sore that day." "Did she speak with anyone here while you were in the waiting room?" "I don't know. I was called back for my blood pressure check." Dr. Patel leaned closer to the screen. "There is a note in your chart entered that afternoon." "What kind of note?" He read for another moment, and then he looked at me. "It says your niece reported that you had been showing serious memory problems. It says you were repeating questions, losing track of medications, and becoming resistant when family members tried to help." My mouth went dry. "That isn't true." "I know," he said. "How do you know?" "Because I saw you that day. You answered every question appropriately. Your medication list was accurate. We discussed your test results in detail. There was no concern noted by me or by my staff about your memory." I gripped the edge of the paper-covered exam table. "Then why is that note in my chart?" Dr. Patel did not answer immediately. Instead, he read the note again. At the bottom was a name, Ava Mercer, and beneath that name was a timestamp. It had been entered 23 minutes after Ava had left me in the waiting room to take a quick call. Dr. Patel turned the screen slightly away from me, as if he did not want me to read every word before he could explain what it meant. But I had already seen enough. Ava had not come to my house with a simple form. She had come with a plan. And somewhere between the pages she had removed and the lie she had placed inside my medical chart, my niece had decided that my life was something she could take control of before I even knew I was losing it. I did not cry in Dr. Patel's office. Not at first. I sat very still, staring at the blue cover of my medical folder, resting on the chair beside me. It seemed impossible that something so ordinary could suddenly feel dangerous. For years, that folder had held little more than test results, prescription lists, and appointment cards. Now it held a missing page. And my doctor's computer held a lie about me. Dr. Patel gave me time before he spoke again. "Rebecca," he said gently, "I want you to hear this clearly. No one can take control of your medical decisions simply because they make an unverified statement to this office. This note does not determine your capacity. It does not give Ava authority. But it is concerning, and we need to document that you dispute it." I nodded, though my hands had begun to shake in my lap. "What happens now?" "First, I will add my own clinical note. It will state that you came in independently, reviewed the issue thoughtfully, understood the document, and expressed clear concerns about its scope. I will also note that I have not observed serious memory problems. Can Ava see my chart? Not without your written permission. I looked up. Then how did she put something in it? Dr. Patel turned back to the screen. That is what I intend to find out. He called in Tasha, his nurse. She had known me for years, long enough to ask about my garden, and remember that I liked the lemon tea she kept in the staff room. When she came in, she could tell something was wrong. Is everything okay? Dr. Patel explained only what she needed to know. He did not repeat Ava's words more than once. He simply said there was a family-reported note in my chart that I disputed, and he wanted to know whether it had been entered through the patient portal, by telephone, or at the front desk. Tasha moved closer to the monitor. I remember Ava being here, she said. She asked if she could give us some information privately. My heart sank. What information? I asked. Tasha looked uncomfortable. She said she did not want to embarrass you. Did she say I was confused? Tasha glanced at Dr. Patel before answering. She said you had been forgetting things. She said you had mixed up your medicine once or twice. That is not true. I understand, Tasha said quickly. I didn't enter the note. I told her that if she had concerns, she could write them down for the doctor to review. Did she write something down? Tasha clicked through another section of the chart. Then she stopped. There was an attachment. Dr. Patel leaned in beside her. The attachment was a scanned one-page letter. At the top, in Ava's neat handwriting, were the words, "Family concerns regarding Rebecca Clark." I watched them open it. The letter said I had become increasingly forgetful since William's death. It claimed I had failed to take medications correctly, misplaced bills, and become agitated whenever anyone tried to discuss future planning. It also said Ava was the family member most consistently involved in Rebecca's care. I read every word twice. Then she does not take care of me. No one answered. Not because they doubted me. Because the sentence sounded so sad when it was spoken aloud. Ava had helped me with groceries a few times. She had driven me to one appointment. She had tightened a loose screw on the bathroom rail. But care was not a few errands. Care was William sitting beside me when I had the flu and bringing me water without asking whether I had earned it. Care was Daniel, shoveling my front walk the winter after his father died, even though we had barely spoken for weeks because grief had made both of us clumsy with each other. Care was Mrs. Hargrove calling when she noticed my porch light had stayed off for 2 evenings. Ava had not cared for me. She had collected details about me, and then she had arranged them into a story that made me sound incapable. Dr. Patel printed a copy of the note and handed it to me. I recommend that we correct the record formally, he said. You can submit a written statement disputing the family report. I will also have our office manager review how this note was added and make sure any future communication from relatives is handled appropriately. Can you remove it? We can't erase a record simply because it was entered. But we can clearly document that it was unverified, that you deny the claims, and that my evaluation does not support them. The distinction mattered. A lie sitting alone in a file could look like truth to someone who saw it later, but a lie answered with a clear record, a doctor's evaluation, and my own written statement became what it really was. An allegation. Nothing more. I spent nearly an hour with Tasha writing my response. I did not want it to sound angry. Anger can be used against women my age. People hear a raised voice and decide it proves instability. I had seen it happen to friends who argued with insurance companies or challenged a bill at the bank. So I wrote carefully. I stated that I did not authorize Ava to make medical decisions for me. I stated that I disputed her claim that I had serious memory problems. I stated that I managed my own medications and finances. And I stated that I wanted all future medical information released only directly to me unless I provided separate written permission. When I signed it, Tasha placed it in the scanner while I watched. That may seem like a small thing, but after seeing that missing page, I wanted to witness every piece of paper that entered my life. Before I left, Dr. Patel gave me the incomplete form Ava had brought to my house. Do not sign this, he said. I won't. And Rebecca, yes? If anyone pressures you to sign documents concerning your health care, your housing, or your finances, bring them here first. or speak to an attorney you trust. But do not let anyone convince you that asking questions is a sign you are unable to make decisions. I looked at him. For 3 years after William died, I had tried very hard not to be a burden. I had accepted rides I did not need. I had let people carry boxes I could have carried myself. I had smiled when relatives spoke slowly to me, as if age had quietly turned intelligence into something fragile. Standing in that exam room, I understood that my politeness had made Ava comfortable. Not because I was weak, because I had believed family members deserved the benefit of the doubt. I drove home myself. The sky was gray, and a light rain had begun to fall. When I pulled into my driveway, Ava's silver sedan was parked at the curb in front of my house. For a moment, I stayed in my car. My first thought was that she had come to apologize. My second thought was that she had come for the papers. I sat there with my hands on the steering wheel and watched her through the windshield. She was looking down at her phone. When she saw my car, she climbed out quickly and walked toward me. "Aunt Rebecca," she called, lifting one hand. "I've been trying to reach you. My phone was in my purse." I had silenced it during the appointment and forgotten to turn the sound back on. I stepped out of the car slowly. I was at the doctor. Her face changed for only a second. It was quick, but I saw it, not worry. Alarm. "Oh," she said. "Why?" "To ask about the medical form." She tried to smile. "That's good." "I told you it was fine to have someone look at it." Dr. Patel said it was incomplete. Ava's hand dropped to her side. "What do you mean?" "The packet you brought me did not include page 3. She looked away, toward the wet street. "I'm sure that was an accident. Perhaps. I had practiced that word on the drive home. Perhaps. Not accusation, not surrender. A door left open only wide enough for the truth to walk through." Ava crossed her arms. "Those forms are confusing. I printed them from a website. Maybe the printer skipped a page. Maybe." "And what did Dr. Patel say?" "He explained that the missing page contains important limits on what an agent can do." Her eyes met mine again. "You don't need to be scared of that language." "I am not scared of language," I said. "I am careful with it." The rain began tapping more firmly against the hood of my car. Ava's voice softened. "Aunt Rebecca, I only wanted to make sure nobody could take advantage of you if something happened." "Then why did you leave a note in my medical chart saying I have serious memory problems?" For the first time, she had no answer ready. She blinked at me. "What?" "Dr. Patel showed me the note." Her face became pale. "I didn't say you had serious memory problems." "The note uses those exact words." I was worried. "You wrote that I was losing track of my medication. You were confused after your fall." "I was in pain after my fall. That is not the same thing." Ava looked past me at the house, as though she expected someone else to come outside and take over the conversation. "Aunt Rebecca, you are making this sound terrible." "No," I said. "I am repeating what you put in my chart. You know how families have to communicate with doctors sometimes. Families can share concerns. They cannot invent them." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't invent anything." "Then tell me when I failed to take my medication." She said nothing. "Tell me when I lost track of my bills." Still nothing. "Tell me when I became agitated because someone asked about my future." Ava exhaled through her nose. "You get defensive anytime anyone tries to help you." The sentence struck me because it had the shape of an answer, but no substance. It was what people say when facts are not on their side. "I get cautious when someone wants authority over my medical records and where I live," I said. "You are twisting this." "No. I am reading it." For several seconds, rain fell between us. Then Ava reached into her handbag and pulled out another copy of the medical form. "I came here because I thought maybe you were overthinking it," she said. "I was going to ask you to sign it with me present so you would feel better." I looked at the papers in her hand. The same yellow sticker marked the signature line. "You brought another copy?" "Of course." I wanted to make it easy. I did not reach for it. "Then show me page 3. Ava froze. It was not a dramatic moment. There was no shout, no door slammed, no thunder cracked over the neighborhood. There was only the sound of rain. And my niece, standing in my driveway with a legal form in her hand, unable to show me the one page that protected me from her. At last, she shoved the packet back into her bag. "You know what?" she said. "Fine. Don't sign anything. I was only trying to help. I will not sign it. You'll regret pushing away the people who care about you." I looked at her then, really looked at her. At the woman William had once lifted onto his shoulders so she could hang Christmas lights. At the little girl who used to fall asleep with books on her chest in the guest room. At the adult standing in my driveway, angry not because I had misunderstood her, but because I had finally understood enough. I have not pushed you away, I said quietly. I have asked you to tell the truth. Ava got into her car without another word. She drove away too fast for a wet street. I stood under the porch awning until her taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside and locked the door. Not because I thought Ava would come back that night. Because for the first time, I understood that I needed to protect more than my house. I needed to protect the version of myself other people were trying to create. That evening I called my son Daniel. He answered on the fourth ring. Mom? Everything okay? I almost said yes. It is a habit older women develop. We say yes because we do not want our children to worry. We say yes because we remember them as babies. Because part of us never stops believing it is our job to protect them from every hard thing, but this was not something I could protect him from by keeping quiet. Daniel, I said, I need to ask you a question, and I need you to answer me honestly. His voice changed. Okay. Has Ava ever talked to you about me needing to move out of my house? There was a pause. A long one. Then my son said, Mom, why would she ask me that? And in that moment, I knew the note in my medical chart was not the beginning of Ava's plan. It was only one piece of it. I did not sleep much that night. I lay awake listening to the rain tick against the bedroom window, replaying Daniel's silence over and over again. Mom, why would she ask me that? The next morning, I called him before breakfast. He answered immediately. Did you sleep at all? He asked. Not enough. Did you? No. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee growing cold beside me. Daniel, I need you to tell me exactly what Ava said. He was quiet for a moment. About a month ago, she called me, he said. She said she was worried about you after the fall. She asked whether you had ever talked about selling the house. My fingers tightened around the phone. What did you tell her? That you had not. I told her you love that house. What else? She said she thought you might be better off somewhere with people around. An apartment. Maybe assisted living. I told her that was not her decision to make. I closed my eyes. Did she ask you to help her? Not directly. She asked whether I had copies of your will, whether you had a power of attorney, and whether you had ever said she could handle things if you got sick. And what did you say? I told her I didn't know. I told her she should talk to you. There was shame in his voice, but I did not blame him. Ava had not presented herself as someone with a scheme. She had presented herself as a worried niece asking ordinary questions. That was what made it dangerous. I should have told you, Daniel said. I thought she was being nosy. I didn't think. None of us did, I said. But moms, there's something else. I waited. Last week, Ava asked me for the name of the realtor who helped me buy my condo. The room seemed to grow smaller around me. Why? She said a friend might need one. And you gave it to her? I only gave her the office number. I didn't think it had anything to do with you. Daniel, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, I need you to do one thing for me. Do not call Ava. Do not accuse her. Do not tell her we have talked. Okay, I'm going to speak with an attorney. You should. After we hung up, I sat alone for a long time. Then I opened the drawer beneath the telephone and took out William's old address book. He had written in it with a blue ballpoint pen, his letters neat and square. Most of the names belonged to people we had known for years. Plumbers, roofers, the man who repaired our furnace, the accountant who had helped us after William retired. Near the back, I found the number I needed. Martin Hale, attorney at law. Martin had helped William and me update our wills after Daniel got married. He was older now, and I had not spoken to him since William's funeral, but when his receptionist answered, she recognized my name immediately. Mrs. Clark, she said. Mr. Hale will be glad to speak with you. I met with him that afternoon. His office was on the second floor of an old brick building downtown, above a bakery that always smelled like cinnamon and warm bread. William used to tease me because I never left Martin's office without buying a cookie from downstairs. That day, I did not even notice the bakery. I brought everything. The incomplete medical form, the copy of Ava's note, my written correction from Dr. Patel's office, a list of every conversation I could remember. including dates and the exact words Ava had used when she told me I did not want strangers making decisions for me. Martin read quietly. He did not interrupt. He did not shake his head dramatically. He simply turned each page, made a few notes, and asked careful questions. When he finished, he folded his hands on his desk. Rebecca, I'm glad you did not sign this. So am I. The form itself is not automatically improper, he said. People use healthcare powers of attorney every day. But the missing safeguards are a serious concern, especially when someone has also made unverified claims about your capacity.
Can Ava use that note against me?
Not by itself. And your doctor's clinical assessment is important. What concerns me is the pattern. She appears to be creating a record that supports a version of events you do not recognize. That is exactly how it feels. Martin nodded. Then we answer the pattern with records of our own. Over the next 2 hours, we made a plan. I signed a new, carefully limited healthcare directive that named no family member as my agent. Instead, I named my longtime friend and neighbor, Lorraine Hargrove, with her consent, and Daniel as the alternate. Both understood that the document applied only if I was truly unable to make decisions myself. Martin explained every page to me. He underlined the part that said I could revoke it. He pointed out the part that required a physician's determination. He made me read the language about access to records before I signed anything. When I finished, he asked, "Do you have any questions?" "Yes," I said. "Why can't every form be explained this way?" He gave me a sad smile. "Because some people count on others being too rushed, too tired, or too trusting to ask." We also updated my financial documents. I did not give anyone broad authority over my bank accounts or my home. Martin helped me create a simple emergency plan, a sealed folder with instructions, account information, and contacts, stored in his office and another copy in my home's safe. The plan protected me without handing my life to someone else. Before I left, Martin looked at me across the desk. "Would you like me to send Ava a letter?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to avoid conflict. That part of me still wanted to believe she would understand if I simply stopped answering her calls. But silence had allowed her to speak for me once already. "No," I said. "Not yet. I want to know how far she has gone." That answer frightened me a little. It also made me feel stronger. 2 days later, Dr. Patel's office called. It was Tasha. "Rebecca, our office manager, completed the review," she said. "I wanted you to know that the family letter has been clearly marked as unverified. Your statement and Dr. Patel's note are attached directly beside it." "Thank you." "There's more. We added a privacy alert to your file. No medical information will be discussed with anyone unless you personally authorize it in writing. If a relative calls, staff will tell them only that they need to speak with you." I felt a small release in my chest. "Did Ava call?" Tasha hesitated. "She did yesterday." "What did she ask?" "She asked whether Dr. Patel had completed a capacity evaluation." I gripped the phone. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. We told her we could not discuss your care." "Did she say why she wanted to know?" "She said she was trying to arrange a safe transition for you." Safe transition. It was the kind of phrase that sounded caring until you imagined someone using it to move you out of your own life. That evening, Daniel came over after work. He brought Chinese food because, even at 42, he still believed lo mein solved problems. We sat at the dining room table where Ava had first placed the clipboard in front of me. Daniel looked exhausted. "I did what you asked," he said. "I didn't contact Ava, but she contacted me." He handed me his phone. There was a text thread between them. At first, it looked harmless. "Ava, have you talked to Aunt Rebecca lately?" Daniel, "Yes. Why?" Ava, "I'm concerned she's getting more suspicious and isolated." Daniel, "She seems fine to me." Ava, "That's because she can still hold it together for short conversations." I looked at the words until they blurred. Then I kept reading. Ava, "The doctor has concerns. I put everything in writing." Daniel, "What concerns?" Ava, "Memory, judgment. She needs help before something happens." Daniel, "Did a doctor say that?" Ava, "It doesn't matter. Once the paperwork is in place, we can get her assessed properly." The next message had been sent the morning after I confronted Ava in the driveway. Ava, "She's refusing to sign because she thinks I'm trying to take her house." Daniel, "Are you?" Ava, "Don't be ridiculous." Then 3 minutes later. Ava, "I'm trying to prevent her from wasting everything and ending up alone." Daniel had typed no reply. But there was another message sent later that night. Ava, if she won't cooperate, we may need to show people how bad she's gotten. I handed the phone back to my son. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Daniel said, "Moms, I'm sorry. You did not write those messages." I should have said something when she first called. Maybe, I said. But now you are saying something. He lowered his head. I thought she was worried. I thought I was being unfair to her because I didn't like her tone. That is how people like Ava get close, I said softly. They make concern sound like proof. Daniel looked at the unfinished medical form still lying inside my blue folder. What does she want? I had asked myself that question many times. The house was paid off. My savings were modest, not extravagant. I had a pension, Social Security, and enough put away to live carefully. Then I remembered what Ava had said in my driveway. You'll regret pushing away the people who care about you. It had not sounded like love. It had sounded like entitlement. The answer came the following week. Lorraine Hargrove was watering her geraniums when she saw a woman photographing my house from across the street. The woman had a tablet in one hand and a small folder under her arm. Lorraine did not confront her. She simply watched from her porch until the woman returned to a gray SUV and drove away. Then Lorraine called me. "Rebecca," she said, "I may be wrong, but I think that was a real estate agent looking at your house." My heart began to pound. I called Martin Hale immediately. He advised me not to panic and not to contact the agent alone. Instead, he asked me to write down the vehicle description and the time Lorraine had seen it. The next morning, Martin's office called the real estate company, whose logo Lorraine had noticed on the folder. A receptionist confirmed that one of their agents had been asked to prepare an informal market estimate for my property. The request had come from Ava Mercer. The agent had not entered my house. She had only driven by and taken exterior photographs. The company had not listed the property because Ava could not show she had authority to act for me. But she had tried. When Martin told me that, I sat down on the edge of my bed. There was no longer any room for doubt. Ava had not been planning for an emergency. She had been building a path. First, the false concern in my medical chart. Then, the incomplete form giving her authority over my care and living situation. Then the questions about my home. Then the real estate estimate. Each step alone might have looked like worry. Together, they formed a map leading out of my own front door. Martin sent Ava a formal letter that afternoon. It stated that she had no authority to access my medical information, make decisions on my behalf, communicate with providers as my representative, or take any action concerning my property. It instructed her to stop making false statements about my capacity. It also directed all further communication through his office. I did not enjoy sending that letter, but I did not regret it. Ava called me twice that evening. I did not answer. Then she left a voicemail. At first, her voice sounded tearful. "Aunt Rebecca, I can't believe you would do this to me. I have only tried to help you. Everyone knows you've changed since Uncle William died." Then her voice hardened. "You are letting Daniel turn you against me. You don't understand how serious this is. I listened to it once. Then I saved it. The next day, Martin told me to keep every message, not to punish Ava, to protect myself. A week later, Donna came to my house. My sister stood on the porch with both hands wrapped around her purse. She looked older than I remembered, though we were only 2 years apart. "I found out," she said. I opened the door wider but did not invite her in immediately. "What did Ava tell you?" "Not much. She said you were upset and that you had gotten a lawyer." Donna looked down. "Then Daniel called me." I said nothing. Donna's eyes filled with tears. "She has debt," she whispered, "more than I knew. Credit cards, a personal loan. She got behind after she lost that job last year. I felt sorrow for Ava. Real sorrow. But I also felt something else. Clarity. Debt explained pressure. It did not excuse deception. I would have helped her if she had asked. I said, "I know," but she did not ask. She tried to make me look unable to say no. Donna covered her mouth with one hand. "I didn't know she went that far." "She did. I'm ashamed." "I am sorry you are hurting," I told my sister. "But Ava's choices are hers." Donna nodded slowly. Then I stepped aside and let her come in. We sat at the table together. Not as sisters solving Ava's problem. Not as women pretending this was a misunderstanding. As two people facing the truth. Donna promised she would not pressure me to withdraw the letter. She said Ava would have to deal with the consequences of what she had done. 3 weeks later, Ava sent a message through Martin. It was not an apology at first. It was an explanation. She said she had been scared about money. She said she had convinced herself that if I moved somewhere smaller, the house could be sold, and the family could finally breathe. She said she believed she would repay me once she got back on her feet. She admitted she had exaggerated in the medical note. She admitted she had removed the page from the form because she thought I would refuse if I understood the limitations. And she admitted she had asked for the home estimate. But she still wrote one sentence that told me everything I needed to know. I thought I was doing what was best. Not what I wanted. Not what I had asked for. What she thought was best. Martin asked whether I wanted to meet with her. I did not answer right away. Forgiveness is not a door you throw open because someone finally knocks. Sometimes it is a window you leave closed while you decide whether the person outside has learned not to break the glass. In the end, I agreed to one meeting in Martin's office. Ava arrived without her clipboard. She looked tired, smaller somehow, but I reminded myself that remorse did not erase harm. "I am sorry," she said. Her voice cracked when she said it. I was desperate. I kept telling myself I was protecting you, but I was protecting myself. That was the first truthful thing she had said to me in a long time. I nodded. "I believe you are sorry now." She looked up with hope. "But you will not manage my health care. You will not have access to my records. You will not make decisions about my house, and you will not contact my doctors, my attorney, or my bank about me again." Her eyes filled with tears. "I understand. I hope you do." Ava agreed to communicate with me only the time being, except for family gatherings where another relative was present. Martin documented the agreement. There was no dramatic courtroom scene, no handcuffs, no miracle punishment. There was something more useful, a clear boundary, a corrected medical record, a protected home, and a family that could no longer pretend concern gave anyone the right to take control of another person's life. Months later, I stood in my garden one cool Saturday morning, trimming the dead leaves from my rose bushes. Lorraine was next door, arguing cheerfully with her hose. Daniel was repairing the loose porch railing. The blue medical folder was no longer hidden beneath my desk. It sat in a locked drawer, organized the way I wanted it. My emergency instructions were complete. My doctor knew exactly who could speak for me if I truly needed help. And I knew something I wished I had learned sooner. Independence does not mean refusing every hand that reaches toward you. It means choosing whose hand you hold. If this story reminded you that your voice, your home, and your medical choices deserve protection, please like this video, subscribe for more stories of truth and dignity, and tell me in the comments, what is one document you would never sign without reading every single page first?